Hey, man.
Hey, bro, you gotta start working with that, bro.
Yeah, we're talking about something powerful today. We're talking about depression. We're going to flesh it out, man. And have you ever wondered how depression feels? Who have experienced depression, first of all? All right, so you know how it feels, right? Have you ever tried to explain to somebody how it feels? It's hard to explain. Even if you've been through it, it's still hard to describe how you feel when you're depressed. Word of the day is depression. Depression is a mental health disorder characterized by persistently depressed mood or loss of interest in activities, causing significant impairment in daily life. So depression affects your daily life, affects your quality of life. It's like going through the life, like we said the other day with the emergency breakup. So saying of the day is depression is being colorblind and constantly told how colorful the world is. And if you're colorblind, you don't see any color, no matter what people tell you. Same thing with depression. People can tell you how good life is, all the beautiful things in life, you know, all the good things you can do. But if you feel depressed, you don't see that. This talk is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional guidance, advice, treatment, or diagnosis. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, substance use or abuse, or suicidal thoughts, dial 988. 988 is available 24/7 nationwide and staffed by trained crisis counselors who are just a text or a call away. This is how depression feels. Have you ever wondered what depression feels like? Or if you have depression, do you struggle with describing how it feels to others? What most people don't understand is that depression is much more than having a bad day or an off week. It's a mood disorder that causes constant feelings of sadness, disinterest, and emptiness. Because it affects someone mentally, physically, and socially, most people don't have a good understanding of what it feels like. This is how depression feels. Number one, waking up exhausted and drained. And have you ever stayed up really late and woke up feeling awful? Imagine that, but every day. Oftentimes, regardless of how much sleep someone with depression gets, they'll wake up without any energy. This lack of energy makes it hard for them to get out of bed and do daily tasks that seem automatic to people without depression, like bathing, washing your face, brushing your teeth, putting on clean clothes, cleaning up. Those sort of things are difficult for people who are experiencing depression. Stuff that we just take for granted. Think of depression as an invisible weight that brings you down everywhere you go. You may not be able to see it, but it's always there, making life harder. This is how depression feels. Number two, feeling as if there is no joy in life. That's a sign of depression. You don't see no joy in life. You don't even see joy in waking up. You don't see joy in being in your right mind when we know people who are not. You don't see joy in being able to breathe, being able to move your limbs, being able to walk, man. Something as simple as walking, man. I appreciate that. I'm telling you, man, health. Being as though I don't have to go to a doctor and get a chemo today. I don't have a chemo appointment today, and there are people who do. People suffering from depression might feel as if there is no joy or pleasure in life at all, making them uninterested in everyday life. Everyone has a hard time concentrating on things that they don't enjoy, such as work or chores. So most of us, man, everyone, it comes to going to work sometimes, it comes to cleaning up or cutting your grass sometimes, we may not enjoy that all the time. It's not like we just run out there and want to do it. That's normal. What happens when someone doesn't enjoy life in general is the question. And what happens when you don't enjoy life in general, likely they'll become unresponsive and unfocused on the world around them. So life is just going to pass you by. If you have that feeling that there's no joy, no fun in life, life is going to pass you by because you're not going to participate in it. There's no fun or no joy. In order to participate, you got to have some joy, incentive. This is how depression feels. Number three, low self-esteem. How you feel about yourself. How much I love me. What value do I place on me? Oh, you know, I go put on a new outfit, get a haircut and this and that. I put some value. No. I ain't talking about that. I ain't talking about getting a haircut. I mean, when you don't have a haircut, what kind of value do you place on you? Because you still the same person. You just don't have a haircut and a shave. The haircut and shave don't make you. A lot of people got to start adding stuff in order to feel good about themselves. You know, or when I'm driving my car or my motorcycle, I feel good about myself, a person may say. But that's not self-esteem. Self-esteem is the person who got to walk to work and they feel good about themselves because they're glad to just have a job. Do you compare your life to all the athletes, models, and influencers on social media? People with depression often do the same, but on a much larger scale. It goes much deeper than thinking that their body isn't picture perfect. Instead, they'll relate it to thinking that they're a failure as a person, they're a failure as a family member, a parent, they're a failure at everything else. They may imagine everyone around them living happily and think it's their fault that they're struggling. Of course, that isn't the case since depression is no one's fault. But just like trying to stop comparing yourself to social media, trying to stop thinking you're a failure is extremely difficult once you start doing that. This is how depression feels. Number 4, a complicated relationship with food. Do you ever eat because you feel sad, bored, or lonely? Even though you're not hungry. Much like eating to pass time, people suffering from depression may use food as a coping mechanism. They can overeat to distract themselves from how they feel or to avoid feeling numb. Because you know what feeling numb is. That means you done felt so much pain that you're numb to it now. You can't even feel anymore. Yeah, you experience so much pain that you become numb to it. Or, on the other hand, someone with depression may also undereat. So you got people who overeat, and then you got the other spectrum where people, they undereat. They may feel too numb or uninterested to the point where they see all food to be unappetizing. In cases like this, it's important to avoid phrases like, you should be grateful you have an option to eat, or you're taking what you have for granted. So when people are going through depression and you're trying to talk to them, that shocking them out of it don't work. They're going through a depression. Look at how you look. You losing weight. What is wrong with you? You look a mess. Will you just snap out of it? Look at you. You've been eating in this house. You look nasty. It smells bad in here. You look a mess. All you're doing is been eating. You got trash here, stuff over there. You need to clean yourself up. You are not helping. That's not how people come out of depression. You're going to push them further into it. Instead, you might want to listen why they're not eating healthy and try to keep in mind that it's not something that can be fixed overnight. This is how depression feels. Number 5, everything feels hopeless. That's depression. When you think everything feels hopeless, do you feel like things will never get better? Everyone can think of a time where they felt helpless and hopeless. But people with depression feel hopeless, not just about the state of the world, but about themselves as well. This constant state of hopelessness can lead to them feeling exhausted and unmotivated all the time. This is how depression feels. Number 6, unhealthy sleeping patterns. Many people with depression struggle with this every night. Depression is sometimes linked to other struggles such as insomnia and anxiety, both of which make sleeping even harder. So if you're dealing with insomnia and anxiety, you're going to have a hard time sleeping. On the other hand, someone with depression could also sleep too much as well, since they may see it as an escape from their daily struggles. You find a lot of people in jail or in prison trying to sleep stuff away. They just want to get out. They just want it to be over. But you can't sleep away a year, or 2 or 3 or 5. You're gonna slip further and further into some depression until you finally get up and start maybe playing some basketball, maybe start going to some programs, maybe start interacting with other people, start calling your family on the phone. That's when time is gonna start going by. But if you keep laying down in that bed, you're gonna find yourself more and more exhausted and more depressed. You cannot sleep away depression. Either way, having a healthy sleeping pattern is important for your mind and body, and without one, you're more likely to feel exhausted, irritable, and stressed. This is how depression feels. Number 7, you have physical pain. Depression causes physical pain. Depression deteriorates your body. Yeah. Imagine the worst headache you've ever had. Now imagine experiencing that every 2 weeks, or experiencing that every other day. While many people think mental and physical health are completely separate, They're actually overlapped in many ways. People with depression are more prone to body aches, headaches, nausea, and muscle tension. While you may have trouble understanding the complex thoughts and feelings people with depression have, you may be more able to empathize with them by knowing what physical pain is like. This is how depression feels. We went through 7 things. Number 1 was waking up exhausted and drained is a sign that you're depressed. Number 2, feeling as if there is no joy in life is a sign of depression. Low self-esteem is a sign of depression. Number 4, a complicated relationship with food, either too much or not enough healthy food, is a sign of depression. Number 5, everything feels hopeless. You think everything is hopeless. Nothing is going to get better. Nothing gets better. Yeah, you're dealing with some depression if that's how you feel. Number 6, unhealthy sleeping patterns, which means you're sleeping too much or you're not sleeping at all. Number 7, you have physical pain because oftentimes it manifests from the depression. Any questions, concerns, or comments, y'all?
That's a death list.
Which one?
All of that. That's a death list. I've experienced probably all of that. And all of it began with a lack of self-esteem.
Okay.
It became, I started to come up.
When did the low self-esteem start?
Always had it.
Always had it.
I have a principal in high school.
Is it just that it got worse as you got older?
It got worse when I got older.
That's kind of like with me too then.
Yeah, he was like, Miss Andrews, he said, son, I feel sorry for you because he said he could see that I didn't believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand what he was saying, but he was telling
you
me,
remember
I
that?
see you had, it resonated, it still resonated, especially when I hear about self-esteem. He was like, he could see that I didn't have no self-esteem. I had low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And
he felt bad about it.
yeah, he felt it. He's like, man, I could tell you don't believe in yourself. And as I got older, it didn't really resonate what self-esteem was. But having been here and having gone through this is the best I've felt about myself in a long time.
Wow.
Now, this is the best I ever felt about myself.
In your life?
In my life. This is the
Wow.
best. Because I understood that I needed to have that.
Mm-hmm.
I had that confusion about humility.
You just didn't know how to get it.
Right. Well, humility and self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
they're 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can be humble, but you also need to have a really rich feeling about yourself.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is, because a lot of people push that being humble kind of thing.
Right.
But what you had to learn was, I mean, you can be humble, which says, I don't think I'm better than anybody, but I still love me.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, that was basically you put it.
Yeah, because you look, being humble does not mean that you don't value yourself. Do not confuse the two. Being humble means I don't think I'm better than anybody. I don't put people, I don't classify people, because you got some people, they'll treat you depending on how you can help them. If you can give them something or if you can benefit them in some certain way, they'll be nice to you. But if you're somebody who they feel can't benefit them, then they'll mistreat you. That's low self-esteem. If it's a waiter or a waitress in a restaurant and they can't really do nothing for you other than get your food, and you mistreating that person, but then a supervisor at your job who you never met shows up and you just jumping over, doing backflips and jumping through hoops to help that person. Now, just imagine if that supervisor happened to be the waitress, or the waiter. You wouldn't be treating that person like that. So the only reason you're treating them like that is because they have something you may want, or they may be able to benefit you. We don't treat people based on how they benefit us. You're supposed to treat everybody good and treat everybody with respect. That's a real person. That's a person with a high self-esteem. Because depending on how I treat you is a reflection of how I feel about myself. So if it's hard for me to be polite, if it's hard for me to show you respect, if it's hard for me to even like you, that's because I got issues within myself. And I'm projecting them. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Got nothing to do with you. We make things about us that has nothing to do with us. You go to the grocery store and the lady is ringing your stuff up and she don't say hi to you, even though she was just having a lively conversation with the person right before you. And then now you show up, they don't say, how you doing, sir? You know what they usually say? Did you find everything you need? She don't say nothing, and you don't even look at you. Just grab your stuff and slide it down. Now, for the person standing there to say, oh, she's probably racist, or if she's the same color as me, oh, she probably got issues with men, or you ain't got to come up with none of that stuff because none of that got nothing to do with you. You making it about you. It has nothing to do with you. A person with high self-esteem can see that. And they don't leave the grocery store feeling some kind of way because a person didn't acknowledge them like they did the people before them. They know that person dealing with something. And you might say, how you doing? Even if they don't speak to you, you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. All right, no problem. Get your bags and your stuff and leave. Because it has nothing to do with you. All right, any other questions, concerns? Go ahead.
I was going to add this. Just like you was talking about a situation like that, and I think a lot of people probably live their life like that. All through your life, you live your life in a child-parent mentality. Like life is, everybody's supposed to treat you like your parents. It's supposed to be giving you something, you're supposed to be receiving something. And if you don't get it, that's like the parents abusing you. But when you realize that, yeah, there was a time for a parent-child relationship, but once you get older, now it's spiritual. Your father, your God, is your father. That's who supplies your needs, not the people. And then you carry that with you at all times, so you don't have to resolve. I don't have to depend on John or Mitch, and they don't have to depend on me. It's good that we help each other, but I got me. They got themselves.
Oh man, that was good. We'll end on that unless somebody else got something to say. It better be good, because that was good. Come on now, what you got for us back there?
Hey,
Yeah.
number 3 about the low self-esteem. My mom died when I was 11, so I was dealing with that. And then my father, he was very abusive, physically and mentally. I think the mental was worse sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And just in time, I felt like being sad was normal in my house.
Okay.
You know, because I didn't have anybody else to show me different. It was always, my dad was a World War II veteran, so it was always yes sir, no sir.
Yeah, strict.
You know, I did everything but salute him. And the numbness, then the numbness come in because I was used to him like torturing me. You know, and as a young kid, you don't know any better if nobody's teaching you better.
Right.
So that's how I grew up. But I'm not using that for excuses for all the stuff I did when I got older, like my addictions and my hate and my violence and all that. But when you're young, you're kind of gullible to what you see. And if nobody teaches you different, then you think that's normal.
It ain't just when we're young though. It's a lot of grown people who are gullible.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of grown people who don't know. There's a lot of grown people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. They don't equate self-esteem with how much they love themselves. They equate self-esteem with what they wear, what they drive, how much money they have, what kind of trip they going on for a vacation, what kind of girl or woman or whatever they got on their arm. You know, it's a lot of grown people, adults, who equate self-esteem to that. So you're not guaranteed to learn it. You can go through life with a messed up mentality, which means you're going to get through life. You're just going to go through life with the emergency breakup. So it's going to be harder for you. You may never learn it. And the only reason those of us in this room, well, those of you in this room are learning it because you're in this program. And if you wasn't in this program, you would be thinking the same way before we started talking about these things. So just keep that humbleness about ourselves because you don't know what you don't know. Keep that in mind when we think about our family members and our friends because they grew up like we did. And some of us got parents who got a story, man. Even though they haven't told you what it was, if you knew everything your mom or your dad had to go through that you don't know about, it'll explain who they are a little bit more. But most people don't know how to explain that to you. They don't know how to explain it. They don't explain it to you when you're a kid. They're probably not going to explain it to you when you become an adult. But your parents have a story. They were miseducated too. See, right now what we're doing, we're working against that miseducation. That's why y'all having these eureka moments like, wow, whoa, really? Oh, I'm going to have to put up with that. Oh, that was something. Oh, I see that. And that's why y'all seeing so much in what we're talking about because now you're changing. But if you wasn't in this program getting this information, you wouldn't be. So keep that in mind, and it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Knowledge is a blessing, man.
Truly is.
Yes, it is. To know is a blessing. So y'all know, knock on the door. It's going to be open.
Yeah.
Seek,
And you shall
and
find.
you should find. But if you ain't knocking, if you ain't seeking, you ain't learning.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to end it right there.